All right, so let's jump into it today. We are tackling blog monetization with ads.
Okay.
Specifically, we're going to be looking at this article from blogwidow.com.
Right.
Came out pretty recently, March 4th, 2025.
Okay.
It's called How to Monetize a Blog with Ads, a Comprehensive Guide.
All right.
I've always kind of thought it was just about throwing up some banner ads and you're good to go.
Yeah.
But looks like there's way more to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So much more to it.
So before we get too far into it, can you give us like a quick summary of what blog monetization with ads even means?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's all about providing a space on your blog for other businesses to advertise.
Okay.
And that can be their products or services, really anything they offer. You're basically renting out that space, and every time someone interacts with it, clicks on it, or even just sees it, you're earning some money.
So traffic is really important then.
Absolutely.
The more visitors, the more potential to make money.
Yeah.
But is it really that straightforward? Just lots of visitors?
Well, not exactly. I mean, think of it like this. You can have a room full of people, but if no one's paying attention to the screen, it doesn't really matter.
I see what you're saying.
Same with ads. You need people who are actually interested in the stuff you're putting out there.
That makes sense.
And then they'll be more likely to engage with the ads that fit with that content.
Makes a lot of sense. Speaking of ads, though, I was actually kind of surprised to see just how many different types there are.
Oh, yeah.
Could we break some of those down?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with probably the one everyone knows, display ads.
Oh.
Those are those classic banner ads you see, top, bottom sides of the page.
Yeah, I know those.
They're still super common because they're easy to use and can be effective.
Okay, but what about those ads that, like, blend in with the content?
Ah, you're talking about native ads.
Yeah.
They're designed to feel like they're part of the content,
Right.
like a sponsored blog post, or you'll see recommended articles that kind of fit with what you're already reading.
That's true, yeah. So it's all about being less in your face.
Right. And that makes people more likely to click on them.
Because it feels more natural.
Exactly. It's part of the experience.
Right.
Then you have in-text ads. These are even more subtle. They're
Yeah.
literally clickable keywords. Like you hover over a word and it turns into a link. That's an in-text ad.
I can see how that would be good for, like, longer articles.
Exactly. If you're already reading something long, you're more likely to click.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, of course, video ads. Those are getting huge, especially with like YouTube and all that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know how you sometimes have to watch a little ad before the video you want to see?
I know, yep.
Prime example.
And I've also seen them right in the articles themselves, too.
That's right.
It's like video just becoming how everyone watches stuff now.
Exactly. And the ads are following that trend.
And then there's also, what was it, affiliate ads?
Yeah, those are a little different.
Yeah.
It's where you promote products or services that you actually use and like. And if someone buys through your link, you get a cut.
So it's kind of like recommending something, but you get a little something for it.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
win-win. You get to help your readers and make some money.
It sounds good. So many different types of ads.
Right. Tons of options. You got to figure out which ones work best for your blog and who your readers are.
Okay, so we have all these ad types.
Yep.
But how do we actually get them on our blogs?
That's where ad networks come in.
Oh, okay.
They're like the middleman. They connect you with advertisers and handle all the technical stuff.
Like serving up the ads and paying us.
Exactly. They make it all work.
So what are some of the names I might recognize?
Well, the big one is Google AdSense. Pretty much everyone knows that one.
Right, Google.
It's really good for beginners because it's simple to set up and they have a lot of different ad formats.
It's easy to get started then.
Yeah, definitely. Then there's media.net. It's powered by Yahoo and Bing. That one gives you more control over how the ads actually look on your blog.
So if I'm picky about design, that's a good one.
Yeah, exactly. If you want them to fit in with your style.
Then there's Ezoic.
Right, that one's interesting.
It uses AI, right?
Yep, it's all about using data and algorithms to optimize your ads.
Wow, so it's constantly figuring out the best way to show them.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then for blogs with a ton of traffic, like over 100,000 views a month.
Okay, so the big leagues.
Yeah, the big leagues. There's AdThrive. They give you more personalized support and help you make even more money.
So once you're rolling in the dough, they step in.
Exactly. And finally, there's Eshe Media, and they focus specifically on blogs for women.
Okay.
They connect you with advertisers that fit that audience.
Interesting. So many different choices.
Right. It's not just about picking one and hoping for the best.
It's like choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly. You got to find the one that fits your blog, your readers, and what you're trying to do.
Okay, so we've got our ads, we've got our networks. What else do we need to think about?
Well, just having ads isn't enough. You got to make sure they're actually working.
Right, right.
It's like setting up a shop. You want people to come in and find what they're looking for.
I see.
You got to optimize everything to make the most money you can.
Okay, so optimization. What are we talking about here specifically?
First things first, traffic.
Mm-hmm.
We got to make sure we're getting enough of the right kind of traffic to our blog.
Right, so all that work we do on content and SEO really matters here.
Huge, yeah. You want to attract the people who are actually interested in what you're writing about.
And the Blog Widow article mentioned long-tail keywords.
Oh, yeah, those are super important.
Right, the more specific phrases people search.
Exactly. Instead of going for something general like, say, travel tips, which everyone is competing for,
Yeah.
you go for something like best hiking trails near Denver in October.
Ah, much more specific.
Way more targeted. You're getting people who are actually looking for that exact thing.
Okay, so it's about being strategic with what we write.
Yep, you got to attract the right crowd. And then once you've got them on your blog, you got to make sure they see those ads.
That's ad placement, right?
Exactly.
Where we put them on the page makes a difference.
Huge difference. The best spot is usually above the fold. That means the part of the page you see before you scroll down.
So they see it right away.
Exactly. Catches their eye.
But too many ads could be a turnoff, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm.
You got to find a balance. You don't want people to feel like they're being bombarded with ads.
Right, it's got to be a good experience for the reader.
Exactly. And then there's mobile optimization.
Right. So important these days.
Seriously, everyone's on their phones.
All the time.
So your blog has got to look good on those small screens, and the ads can't be all clunky and slow.
Yeah, otherwise people just leave.
Totally. It's all about user experience.
Okay, traffic, placement, mobile, anything else.
One more big one. Tracking.
What do you mean?
You got to keep an eye on how your ads are actually doing.
Oh, so it's not just set it and forget it.
No way. You got to pay attention to the data, see what's working and what's not.
So we look at things like clicks, impressions, all that,
Exactly. You got to be a little bit of a data detective, figure out what needs to change.
to make more money.
Exactly. It's a process. You got to keep tweaking things.
Well, I'm already feeling way more informed.
Good, good.
Just from this first part, so much to learn.
There's a lot to it, but it's definitely worth it.
Before we wrap this part up, can you quickly recap what we've talked about for the listener?
Sure. So we learned that making money from ads on your blog is definitely possible, but it's not as easy as just throwing up some random ads.
Right.
You got to have a plan. You got to understand the different types of ads and networks.
Choose the right ones for your blog.
Yeah. And then make sure your blog is set up to get traffic, keep people happy, all that good stuff.
And we've also learned it's not just a one-time thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You got to keep track of what's going on and make changes as you go.
Always learning and tweaking.
Makes sense.
It's the only way to make sure you're actually making the most of those ads.
Okay, well, folks, that's it for part 1 of our deep dive
All right.
into the world of blog monetization with ads.
It's a fascinating world.
It is. Be sure to join us for part 2, where we'll really get into the nitty-gritty of all this. See you soon.
See ya.
And we are back for part 2 of our deep dive on blog monetization with ads. Last time, we kind of laid out the basics, different types of ads, those networks. Now I want to get a little more into, the strategy behind it all.
Yeah, for sure. Knowing what the tools are is one thing, but you got to know how to use them.
Exactly. And the Blog Widow article really gets into that. Like with traffic, it's not just about getting any traffic, it's about getting the right kind.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. It's got to be the right people coming to your site.
Can you break that down a little more for me? What makes traffic right?
Think of it this way. Imagine you're a musician playing a show. Do you want a small crowd that loves your music, or a big crowd that's just there for the drinks?
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
It's the same with your blog. You want people who are actually interested in what you're writing about. They're the ones who are going to click on ads, buy stuff, all that.
So how do we get those people to our blog in the first place?
That's where your content comes in, and specifically keywords. Remember those long-tail keywords we talked about before?
The really specific ones.
Exactly. They're like a magnet for your ideal reader.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you're all about baking, right?
Mhm.
You wouldn't just target cake recipe.
Way too broad.
Right. You'd go for something like vegan, gluten-free chocolate cake recipe.
Oh, so someone looking for exactly that.
Yep. They're already interested in vegan, gluten-free, chocolate. They're your people.
So it's like a laser focus on the right readers.
Exactly. And there are so many long-tail keywords out there, you just got to find the ones that fit your blog.
So really understanding our niche and what people are searching for.
That's the key. But it's not just about cramming keywords in everywhere. Your content still has to be good.
Right. It's got to be actually helpful and interesting to read.
Yeah, the keywords just help people find it in the first place. Then once you've got them there, you've got to make sure those ads are in the right spot.
Ad placement. Yeah, we talked about that a bit.
Super important. Above the fold is still the best. Those are the ads people see first.
But we got to balance that with making sure it's still a good experience for the reader.
Oh, absolutely. Too many ads or ads in the wrong spot, and people are just going to click away.
No one wants to be bombarded with ads.
Exactly. So think about it like this. Where do you look first when you open a website?
Probably the top of the page, headlines, images.
Exactly. And then what kind of ads do you actually like?
Ones that kind of fit with what I'm reading, I guess, not those annoying pop-ups.
Right. Use that when you're deciding where to put your own ads.
Like, would a sidebar ad be better than a huge banner?
Maybe. Or maybe a video ad right in the content would work.
So many options to try.
Right. It's all about testing things out, seeing what gets people clicking.
And we can't forget about mobile.
Oh my gosh, so important. Everyone's on their phone, so everything has to work perfectly on a small screen.
Right, what looks good on a computer might be terrible on a phone.
Exactly. You might need different sizes, different types of ads for mobile.
Okay, traffic, placement, mobile.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to think about for optimizing all this?
The biggest one.
Hmm.
Actually looking at the data.
So, not just setting up the ads and hoping for the best.
Nope. You got to track everything, see what's working, what's not.
It's like being a scientist almost, experimenting.
Exactly. You're constantly looking at the numbers, making little changes to see if you can get more clicks, more money.
So it's really important to keep learning and tweaking things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how you turn your blog into a money-making machine without driving away your readers.
It's all about balance.
Exactly. Balance and data. Those are your friends in this game.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the nuts and bolts, but I'm curious, what about the bigger picture? We're making money from our blog. Where do our readers fit into all of this?
That's a great question, and it brings up something super important, something the Blog Widow article talks about a lot. Transparency.
You mean being honest with our readers about how we're making money?
Exactly. We got to be upfront about it.
So if we're recommending a product and getting paid for it, we got to tell them.
Yep. That's called disclosure. We have to be clear about sponsored content, affiliate links, all of that.
Otherwise, people might feel tricked.
Right. It's all about trust. If your readers trust you, they'll stick around.
But how do we balance making money with keeping our readers happy?
That's the million-dollar question, right? There's no easy answer. It comes down to your own values as a blogger.
So some people might avoid sponsored stuff altogether.
That's right. Others might be okay with it, as long as they really believe in the product.
And there's probably a whole range in between.
For sure. The key is to be thoughtful about it. Ask yourself, would I recommend this even if I wasn't getting paid?
Good question.
Does it fit with my blog? Will it annoy my readers?
It's all about finding that balance again, making money without losing your readers' trust.
Exactly. And remember, always err on the side of transparency. Be open with your readers, and they'll appreciate it.
I'm really glad we talked about this. It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
It's something every blogger has to figure out.
For sure. Well, this has been super insightful. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's such a complex topic, but it's so important for anyone who wants to make money from their blog.
Absolutely. So before we move on, what would you say is the most important thing for our listener to take away from this part?
That's a tough one. I think it's this. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try different things. See what works.
Right, with the ads, the placement, the networks, everything.
Exactly. It's all about learning and adapting.
And always, always keep track of your data.
Yep. Data is your friend. It tells you what's working and what needs to change.
And never forget about those readers.
Oh yeah, they're the heart of it all. Keep them happy, and the money will come.
Well said. All right, folks, that wraps up part 2 of our deep dive into blog monetization with ads. Join us for the final part, where we'll explore even more strategies and insights. See you soon. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into blog monetization with ads. It's been a long journey, and we've covered so much ground already.
It really has. We talked about types of ads, ad networks, optimizing everything, and even the ethics of it all.
I think one of the most important things I've realized is that there's no, one-size-fits-all solution here.
Right. The Blog Widow article really emphasized that.
Yeah, it says some blogs might make a ton of money from ads, while others might just make a little bit.
That's so true. And it really shows that, success with ads depends on so many different things.
Like what your blog is about, who your readers are, how good your content is.
Your whole strategy, basically.
It's not just about throwing up some ads and hoping for the best, right?
Nope, not at all. It takes work, it takes planning, and it takes being able to adapt.
Especially as the internet changes, things are always evolving.
Exactly. It's always changing.
Yeah.
And that's why testing and optimizing is so important.
We talked about that in part 2, right?
Yeah, you got to constantly look at how your ads are performing, what the data is telling you, and then make changes.
So it's not just a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Nope. Got to be in there, tweaking things, making sure everything is working as well as it can.
Whether that's the placement, the type of ad, even which ad network you're using.
Absolutely. What works for one person might not work for another, and what works today might not work tomorrow.
So you always have to be learning and experimenting.
Exactly. It's all about being flexible and data-driven.
I like that. So as we're wrapping up this whole deep dive, there's one big question I think is really important for our listeners.
What's that?
What does success actually look like for you? Because it might not be the same for everyone.
That's such a good point. Success isn't just about making a certain amount of money.
Right. It could be about so many different things.
For some people, it might mean quitting their job and blogging full-time.
Yeah, making enough to live off of.
For others, it might just be about covering their blog costs, making enough to keep things running.
Or maybe just having a little extra spending money.
Exactly. And for some people, it might not even be about the money at all.
It could be about reaching more people, having an impact.
Building a community, making a difference, all of that.
That's true. It's about figuring out what matters to you and then making sure your monetization strategy fits with that.
Absolutely. Once you know what success means to you, then you can start building a strategy that helps you get there.
And that's where all this stuff we've been talking about comes in, right? Understanding the ads, the networks, the optimization, all of that.
It's a lot, but it's all really useful information.
It can feel overwhelming.
For sure. But the more you know, the better decisions you can make.
So for our listener who's been with us this whole time, soaking it all up, what would you say is the most important piece of advice you could give them?
I'd say don't be afraid to experiment. Try things out, see what happens.
With the ads, the placement, the networks, everything.
Exactly. You won't know what works best for you until you try it.
And remember to track your data.
Huge. That data will tell you what's working and what's not, so you can keep improving.
And at the end of the day, always remember your readers.
Oh yeah, they're the reason you're doing this. Give them great content, make their experience enjoyable, and be honest with them about how you're making money.
If you do all that, the money will come.
For sure. It's all about finding that balance.
All right, folks, that's it for our deep dive into blog monetization with ads.
We covered a lot.
I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new.
I know I did.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.